Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the EdTech Lounge session on behalf of the Al Khan University Network of Quality Teaching and Learning. EdTech Lounge is a community of practice where faculty members come and discuss their experiences of teaching and learning with technology. Since April this year, we have organized EdTech Lounge sessions every Wednesday at the same time, where faculty members have shared their experience of online teaching and learning during COVID-19. The format of these sessions is very simple. Our speaker of the day speaks for about 15 minutes, and after their talk, we open the session up for question and answers. If you have any questions or comments, please use the chat window to write your questions and comments, and we will discuss all your questions and comments at the end of the talk. If during the talk you experience any technical difficulties, please write to us in the chat window, or you also have the email address, so you can even write to us via email. So today's EdTech Lounge presenter is Dr. Ziaul Islam. Dr. Ziaul Islam received his early education in Karachi from Habib Public School and DJ Science College. At the age of 18, Dr. Ziaul Islam was accepted into the prestigious Army Medical College, Rawalpindi, where he studied medicine for 5 years and graduated with honors. Upon graduation, he was commissioned in the Pakistan Army as a captain. He worked in Army at different locations for 26 years. During this time, he underwent intense and extensive surgical training at CMH Rawalpindi. He obtained fellowships in general surgery and later in plastic surgery from the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Pakistan. Considering his surgical talents and dedication, he was selected by the GHQ for specialized training in the UK. During this fellowship, he worked in the plastic surgery department of the John Redcliffe Hospital, Oxford, England. While in the UK, he also qualified the Joint Intercollegiate Specialty Board exam and obtained the Diploma of FRCS from the Royal College of Surgeons of England, London. Currently, Dr. Zia is working as a consultant plastic surgeon at the Al Khan Hospital in Karachi. He is a supervisor and examiner in plastic surgery for the College of Physicians and Surgeons, Pakistan. It is our pleasure, Dr. Ziaul Islam, to have you here in the EdTech Lounge, where we are anxiously waiting to hear about your experiences of postgraduate medical education. Over to you. Dr. Zia, I think
Sorry. Thank you very much, Azra Naseem and Abir. I think you are doing a fantastic job, and it's such an honor and a pleasure talking on this forum. I have been following the talks here, and they have been absolutely fantastic. I thought that if this is a lounge, and I have nothing to teach you guys, you are very experienced teachers. I'm just a clinician. So why should I use a PowerPoint? And besides not having to show anything on the PowerPoint, I'd much rather be face-to-face with you so that you can have my video. And if it's okay with you all, I would prefer that everyone turns on their camera so we can have more of a feeling of a lounge rather than a classroom. And if we can have the gallery view, that would be fantastic actually, so that we can see who's around and we can interact better. So as I said, there is no PowerPoint presentation. It's just a talk. It's a casual talk. I have a few points on the piece of paper. Hello, everyone. It's really much better this way rather than running a PowerPoint. So let's start 300 years ago, 1700, and let's presume we are in London and we wanted a shirt made. So we went to a very high-end clothes store, a clothes merchant wanted the shirt made from, and then we went to a very high-end tailor who would spend, say, 2 or 3 weeks in making a shirt for us. And it was so expensive that you had made shirt. That's how things were. And it was the same with furniture. Carpenters, artisans of the society could afford them. Not everybody could. And what happened then? And then we had the Industrial Revolution. All these things, these shirts, these suits, the fantastic furniture, everything started being made in factories on machines. With the result, the cost of these things went down. And a common man like us could afford a new shirt. Whereas before this, only the lords could afford new clothes, and others would either have some very, very rough clothes on, or they would wear hand-me-downs. After using his clothes, the lord would give them to his driver, and he would then give them to somebody else. So that was Industrial Revolution. Things changed. The common man got to the privileges that were only reserved for the very elite. That is how I feel things are going to be when we switch to online learning. Then let's go to the history of education. This is our concept that teaching in a classroom is the standard form of teaching. It's not. It's only recent that we have been started teaching in classrooms. Go back another 1,000 years. In the times of Greeks, in the even prehistoric times, there were teachings, but it was very different. Initially, the teacher would either go to a rich man's house and teach the pupils there, or they would go to a teacher's house and get taught. And again, this education, teaching and learning, that was reserved for a very elite few. Only the scribes, as they were called, they could get education, or the sons, actually not even daughters, sons of kings and lords, they would get education. And teachers at that time were secretive. They would not teach their art or their science to others. Like a blacksmith would only teach his skill to his son. An artisan would teach these skills only to his son. That was how things were. So sometime later, the concept of classroom teaching cropped in. In Oxford, how did the University of Oxford start? People from England usually went to France at that time to get taught. But at one time, the King of France declared that he did not want students from England. There were some issues with their diplomacy, and he banished all the students from France. So they crossed over and came to England. In England, there were learned people who were following the religion and living in churches. They took on their students. So the students would live with them, dine with them, work with them, and in turn, he would teach them a few things. So that is how teaching and learning in the early days was. It was only later then we switched on to classroom teaching. So we have to get rid of this concept that classroom teaching is the standard form of teaching. Even before COVID, a lot of people were doing online teachings. There were online courses. As far back as 20 or 25 years ago, we had this concept of Allama Iqbal Open University in Pakistan, where the courses were taught through the television. Although the television period was very small, and still there were courses online. They were sort of online courses, synchronous or sort of asynchronous learning. So these are the two points in history that I wanted to talk about, and then I want to talk about a paradigm. In all the talks that I have been a part of, both on this EdTech Lounge and on other forums, what we have been focusing on is how online teaching is different. What are the problems with online teaching? On the other hand, we take classroom teaching as gold standard, and we never discuss what are the problems with classroom teaching. There are 101 problems with classroom teaching. The first and foremost problem with classroom teaching is disparity. There is a huge disparity, a privilege issue. This guy goes to this guy goes to Karachi Grammar School. This guy goes to this is a student of a government school. This is a semi-private school student. So there are classes in our society based on which school our children go to. We take it as normal. It's not normal by any means. It is a severe privilege-based society, and there are severe stratifications that are going on. So my foremost concern with classroom teaching is disparity. And why does this disparity arise? Because there is a lot of logistics involved. You need a huge area to build a school. You have to pay rents, fees, and there is obviously salary for the teachers who come in and teach, spend their time. So a lot of inconveniences get in. Just imagine if I have to teach a group of students, why would I want to get up from my bed, shave, change my clothes, get in my car, drive for 20 minutes, find a parking, come to a classroom, and then teach and repeat all those steps back to my room? Why can't I just switch on my laptop and teach the same thing that I am teaching? The other big problem that I have with teaching in the classrooms is distance. We never realize, but our traditional teaching is very restrictive. We can only teach to students who are within commuting distance to where we are. We cannot teach to students who are far away, supposing in another city, another country, another continent. Why can't we? Why can't students from those parts come and participate in our class? Because of the physical distances. So what's good with online teaching? One, you can address a lot of people. There are no physical boundaries. It can be everywhere. And the biggest advantage with online teaching is asynchronous learning. I feel asynchronous teaching is the thing of future. Synchronous teaching with time will only be available to the privileged few, or on a very, very specific topics or problems. The most of the teaching will go on to asynchronous learning. There will be lectures available online. You can download them, record them, or watch them, whatever you want to do, and there you are. So I feel not only online teaching is going to be the standard form of teaching in future, but the main part, about 70 or 80% of it, would be asynchronous teaching. Even now, when we have webinars, I arrange webinars very regularly, almost every week or twice a week. And I have quite a few number of participants, about ranging from 100 to 500 participants. But then I get requests, another 100 requests of a recording, because that is asynchronous learning. They would be busy somewhere else. They want to watch it again, or they want to watch it again. So asynchronous learning. However, But to be honest, I find two problems with online teaching. One is the copyright issue. Whatever we show on the screen is no longer restricted to us. It can be screenshot, it can be recorded, there's 100 things that. And when we show, especially when we show the photographs of patients, that's an issue because the patient privileges and secrecy that gets violated. So that is a major issue that I see right now at present, but I think that will be resolved with time. At present, this is the major issue that I see with online teaching. And the other thing is assessment. Although we have fantastic ways of formative assessment, as we will discuss in a minute or so, the summative assessment is still a challenge in online teaching. About myself, as has been introduced already, I am from an army background. And in 2007, after my fellowship in plastic surgery, I was posted in PNS Shifa, Karachi as a consultant plastic surgeon. And there my teaching career started. I never received any formal training to be a teacher, never. I just did it by my own experience and learning, and now it has been about 13, 14 years. So I have gained some experiences by doing it wrong and then learning from it. So when I went for the exam, there's a very technical surgery. One of our audience is Dr. Safdar, and he's very skilled in it. Microvascular surgery, that was only practiced in the institute that I got training in. So when I went for the exam, we were not asked about microvascular surgery because the other centers were not practicing microsurgery, so they could not ask us. So after I passed the exam, there was a thought going on that we should have a certain level of education for all plastic surgery residents, whether they are in Peshawar, they are in Hyderabad, they are in Quetta, in Karachi or Lahore, there should be some uniformity. So in 2015, finally, we made a core curriculum of plastic surgery, a list of topics that if we taught every quarter, and College of Physicians and Surgeons, they gave us a platform. They had a meeting system in which all their regional centers in different cities of Pakistan could be connected, and we borrowed time from them, and we had quarterly lectures so that everyone could be exposed to the similar standards. If not taught in detail, at least be exposed to certain levels of education to bring some degree of uniformity in training. In 2018, I was exposed to Zoom. I was arranging an international conference in AKU. I had recently retired from military, and there was a meeting. A guy wanted to talk to me from America about a business proposition for the meeting, and he talked to me on Zoom. It immediately struck me as a fantastic idea. So what we did was that we started having lectures by international authorities on different aspects of plastic surgery. And we would have them viewed in groups. In Karachi, we would make a group in AKU, in Lahore, in the Jinnah Hospital, and similarly in all cities, and they would be simultaneously broadcast. So this we started online teaching, sort of online teaching, way before COVID struck. The other thing that I was doing a lot of courses for exam preparation every 6 months. Since 2010, I have been doing it every 6 months. So now this time, since it was COVID, we switched that to online course. That's how it was easy for us to switch on to online. And I think it was a fantastic experience because more examiners were available than we can have when we have it physically in one place, and more participants and more audience could participate. So with the advent of Zoom, what happened? I think, with the advent of this COVID, what happened? I think COVID triggered a change that was inevitable. It was going to happen one day or the other. And COVID just triggered it. Older people like me who are used to status quo, they do not want change. They were forced to change their ways. And now I think once they have become comfortable with this online concept of teaching and learning, I do not think there is any other way that we can teach as well as we do online. And then while in this process, during the COVID, I chanced upon Abir and her team, such fantastic people. And everything that they have taught me, I have used it and found it beyond praise. First thing that taught me was Kahoot. And immediately I used that on my plastic surgery students. Now we have a group of plastic surgery students, not only from Pakistan, but other parts of the country, world as well. So every Sunday we have a quiz. We started with Kahoot and then found some limitations in Kahoot we could not get around. Then we were introduced by this fantastic team to quizzes, and we have now switched to quizzes. Last Sunday, I was so pleased to see that when we had that quiz on quizzes, the second position was a guy from Malaysia. It was so heartening that people from other parts of the world, they were competing against our students in Pakistan, and we have about 50 participants. That's the limit we have because we are not paying them. So we have about 50 people participating in that quiz. It's thrilling, it's fantastic. And the one thing that I wanted to achieve was to have uniformity, and I wanted students to learn the year round rather than for the exams. And I'm not only reaching out to students in AKU or students in Karachi, I'm reaching out to students anywhere in the world who want to learn. Then I was looking for a platform, a virtual learning platform. And again, Abir came to the rescue, the Padlet. Now what we do is every Monday we have a session with students who are preparing for the exam. And I use Padlet as a question park. Again, a concept given by this team. And my students are now so used to having a question park that if I do not make it, they start chasing me that where is our question bank. So I have to put that on the Padlet, and then they can write questions under it. They write about 20, 30, 40 questions for me. And in a couple of hours in the synchronous session, we address all those questions. So these apps that I have just talked about, yes, it was Padlet. So these apps that I've talked about, Kahoot, quizzes, Zoom, Padlet, and of course, Google Forms. Once in a month, we use a Google form to have a best choice question session. Again, all over the world, people from Egypt, Romania, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, they all participate in this quiz. And at the end of it, we have a formal session in which we discuss the answers. So in a nutshell, I think I've run out of time. In a nutshell, I am very strongly convinced that online teaching is here to stay. And this team of blended learning, they are an asset that we need. And I'm very happy and feel fortunate that we have them with us. Thank you very much.